when you look at the history of Asia versus, I mean, the Orient versus the Occident or anything of the sort, I mean, if you use those terms, then economically speaking, it is true that Asia wasn't always as privileged, right, or as lucky or economically as developed or advanced. So they really needed to work hard. Asia in general needed to work hard to make a mark, right, to have a name on the map. Right? For example, China or Japan, and now these Asian economies are so advanced. That's only because they've really worked hard, right?
Sure.
And that's why there is this focus, or there is this emphasis on mainstream career options, because that is what fetches you the most money, right? Like doctors or engineers or management employees or lawyers or architects. So these are the professions that have been historically approved of and certified by society, because they give you the most money, and that generates the most revenue for the economy, and that's how they've progressed, and that's how they've come to where they are.
So you're saying when a culture or country is economically stressed, the people focus on,
right,
you know, making money,
right,
and going into the professions that make money.
Right, and that's how historically it's been like that, and traditionally speaking, that's why the liberal arts or the fine arts have always taken a backseat as professions, not as, I mean, obviously countries like India, China, or any other Asian country, culturally they're very rich, right? I mean, it's always been dance and music and the fine arts and theater and carving and all of these things, carpentry, these things have always been, I don't know, I mean, they've always been there,
present.
They've always been part of, prevalent in the culture, in the society, but as professions for youth, this is not something that the parents encourage, because the mindset is that if you do something like this, you're not going to be able to make a lot of money, right? And that's probably why the mainstream career options are the ones that form the center, and all of these vocational subjects and liberal arts, fine arts as professions and as career options come to the periphery and fall by the wayside.
Sure.
And which is why the acceptance level of those career options, or the deviant career options some people call, is not very high.
Yeah.
Right, and things are obviously changing, at least in big cities like Delhi and Bombay. Parents are becoming more open and broad-minded about accepting these career options and giving their children the freedom to choose and make their own career choices.
Sure.
But there is still obviously that insecurity, the what if, you know, and what if you're not able to make a lot of money? What if you don't make a name for yourself? What if, you know, you have a broken limb at the age of 40? What are you going to do after that if you don't have anything to fall back on?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, I mean, that insecurity and that concern is legitimate. Obviously, it's not unreasonable, because as a dancer, for instance, what the parents usually think is that it's not a lifelong career. It cannot be a long-lasting career option, because you can only be in the prime of your fitness level until the age of 30 or 35, maybe even 40. But after that, what are you going to do?
Right.
Right? So how are you going to make money? The idea of translating a dancer into a choreographer, and a choreographer into, I don't know, maybe a teacher running an academy, and, you know, all of that sort of doesn't come into the picture just yet.
Yeah.
So they think about the practical concerns involved. What if you injure a body? You know, what if you injure a ligament and it's permanent damage?
But some of those concerns are very similar to the concerns of parents and even dancers.
Right.
You know,
all over the world.
All over the world.
But I think the degree of acceptance is slightly higher in the US or maybe in Europe or
Definitely.
in the West in general, because like I said, the historic reason of the economy being in shambles or being not as forward and advanced on this side has sort of trained our minds to think along the lines of mainstream.
Sure.
And that's why you see, I mean, even here, if you compare cinema, for instance, because I've studied cinema, I know a little bit about mainstream and independent cinema, because my dissertation was in the comparison between mainstream and independent cinema. So the acceptance level or the number of avant-garde films that come out in the West, sorry, as opposed to the number of avant-garde films that come out in India, there is a vast difference.
Is it high? I'm assuming that it's higher in the West.
Yes, it is, right? Because the acceptance level of these films or the relatability factor is much higher. The acceptance level, and that's why, because film has to be made for the masses, right? If there is no audience, if the audience doesn't accept a piece of creation or a piece of film, a piece of work, the work sort of loses its importance, right?
Sure.
So because the society doesn't relate to avant-garde films or independent films as much as they do in the West, there are more mainstream films coming out in India. And now things are changing. Obviously, there are lots of independent filmmakers, and those films are only showcased at international film festivals, but they're not shown to the masses.
I see.
Right? That's because the acceptability level is very low.
And if you have a higher acceptability level, then it might be a little easier to make a profession.
Right. Exactly.
In that field.
Exactly.
So that,
because there is some sort of approval.
I see that connection to dance. Mm-hmm.
Right? And dance is very similar. Any sort of fine art, for instance, that's why it's very similar, because if you compare, in general, if you compare the number of liberal arts colleges in the US with the number of liberal arts colleges in India, you will see a vast difference.
Sure.
Right? Because the opportunities are fewer, because the acceptability level of such professions or such liberal arts turning into professions eventually is a lot less here.
Yes, and your main argument for the reason of that is because of the economy. And now the economy is shifting, and so I think people are a little bit more open.
Yeah, to accepting these variety of career options that the liberal arts can also offer. Right?
Sure.
So that has definitely shifted, and it's changed dramatically, but I think that it's still in its infancy and it can grow a lot, and it is definitely growing.